Welcome back to the Vandy Sports Podcast. I'm Joey Dwyer. He's Billy Derrick. We're here from Memorial Gymnasium after Vanderbilt's 68-62 loss to Presbyterian, the Big South's lowest-ranked team in the preseason poll, 315th in Ken Palm. Hard to imagine it getting much worse for this than Vanderbilt. It lost to Southern Miss last year, lost to Grambling State last year. But, man, it's hard to get a new low beyond this. And when it feels like you've hit rock bottom, there's a basement with Vanderbilt, and we felt that today. Thank you to the Wash House for presenting our basketball content for the season. I don't know how you stomach it at times, but are you dreading laundry day, Billy?
Yes.
Is it stealing time to do the things you truly enjoy? I'm going to say yes. Let the laundry professionals at the Wash House take care of that for you with 2 convenient locations in the greater Nashville area. Just drop off your dirty laundry, and our professional attendants can give you back the one thing you can never have enough of, your time. Within 24 hours, you can pick up your nicely folded, fresh and clean laundry, ready to be put away. Check out www.washhouseclean.com. Stop in today and get your time back. The Wash House must not be happy about this show, Billy. I don't think anybody in the Vanderbilt fan base is. Vanderbilt drops a quad 4 game, in all likelihood, a game that it should have no business losing, and Vanderbilt was up against it already with Ken Palm in the net. Being in the upper 70s before the season started, it's hard to see a path. Even if it's opening night, it feels like you're a little later in the season than you actually are. It's a really brutal loss. Vanderbilt didn't get much from Colin Smith. It didn't get much from really anybody outside of Ezra Magnon, who had 19 points and really wasn't a factor throughout in the entirety of the first half. It just felt like Vanderbilt was disjointed. It was tight all night. It was scared to lose this game rather than trying to go win this game. And what really stood out to me was how much Jerry Stackhouse talked this offseason about we got to rig the net. We got to be able to exploit that and get our Ken Palm up, get our net up. And instead of doing that and winning this game by 20 points, Vanderbilt felt like it didn't have much of a sense of urgency and dropped this one in a way that I can't believe.
Yeah, as I yawn, it's getting late here, Joey. Unthinkable, inexcusable, unacceptable. I don't think there's enough words to describe the impact of this loss and what this loss will do to this program, this coaching staff, the fans. There's really not much else to say, although we do have a lot to say after this one. First, with Presbyterian, I do want to give them a little bit of credit. Obviously Vanderbilt lost this game, and obviously it's on the shoulders of their coaching staff and the players. But Presbyterian, Joey, was a team that won 3 Division I games last season. They went 1-17 in conference play, and they haven't won a game since the calendar flipped to 2023. So that tells you the type of team and program they are. Again, credit to them. They came in here and beat Vanderbilt, but I mean, Joey, you cannot lose to a program like this. In year 5 of the Jerry Stackhouse era, this should not have been close. There's no excuses. There are, we talk about moral victories, right, in football. I mean, if this was an SEC game, yeah, we'd be talking a little bit differently. But this was opening night against a team that you should, like you said, beat by at least 20. I mean, I was looking at scores yesterday, 40, 50, 60-point games and wins for top 25 teams. I know Vanderbilt's not a top 25 team, certainly, but, I mean, this is a loss that's just unacceptable, Joey. And after the game, Coach Stackhouse, talked a lot about, we had enough guys to win this game. Obviously, it hurt that Tyler Lawrence was out and Lubin and Lee Dort. I think they did get positive messages on them, so they will be back soon, especially Lawrence and Lubin. But Magnon and Stackhouse both said they had enough tonight, right? They had the guys they needed. Right? They didn't have to have Lawrence, right? They said it would have been nice, but they didn't have to. So, they think they had enough, but is that really true? Like, is Vanderbilt good enough without Tyler Lawrence and without Lubin and without Dort? I think that's the big question here. And after the game, I wrote about this in my piece, and we both have pieces up on the site right now. But, with Lawrence and Lubin, those guys were guys that are not seriously injured or seriously banged up. Could they have given it a go tonight? I think that's the question Vanderbilt fans want answers to. They didn't really get it tonight. Stackhouse said they were injured, right? That's really all he had to say. And so that's my biggest question. The other question is, why sit Ezra Magnon the entire first half? I know that's sort of an unwritten rule of thumb, whatever, from a lot of coaches. But in a game that is important, right? I think that's the biggest thing. This is important. This is not an exhibition game, right? This is game 1, opening night of your season, and this matters just as much as late season games. Mm-hmm. And that seemingly, Joey, is what this, whether it's the staff, the players, whoever it is, that I feel like they have not been able to understand that and understand the importance and come ready to play. right? And, the big question is, were they prepared? Were they ready to play? At times they looked sluggish. I don't want to say out of game shape, but, it almost looked like that. So, Joey, there's a ton to say. I'm sure we'll throw out more points out there. But my biggest question after this, could Lawrence and Lubin given it a go? And I think that might be a question the staff is wondering as well.
Billy, to me, even from when I woke up, it felt like an eerie day. You hear the report that Tyron Lawrence is in a boot early in the morning. That turned out to be correct. And then you spend all day thinking, is he going to go? Is he a little bit more banged up than we had thought? I saw Tyron Lawrence at Belmont last night. If I'm not an idiot, he didn't have a boot on. And he didn't have a boot on when he was out there. It begs the question, how injured is he? Is this something that we have to be a little more concerned about than we are? But I think we just have to be concerned about everything right now, Billy.
Yeah.
This was just a really eerie day. Ever since we stepped into the gym, really, it didn't feel as comfortable to me.
It didn't feel like a buzz at all.
No buzz.
Yeah.
It didn't feel as comfortable to me as it had in the past. It just felt like it was kind of out of place. It felt like it was early, and this team didn't come out with a whole lot of sense of urgency, and I think that's been a real thing that we've harped on throughout the years. But seeing it be in year 5 and this team know that these games do matter a lot, and it still comes out flat-footed, it still comes out thinking it can kind of squeak by this team, I think got a real wake-up call tonight. And I think this team shooting lower than 33% and 24% from 3 and being down by 15 points at one point, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. And I think this team, it didn't get much from Colin Smith. It didn't get much from Tassos Kamateros after really the early portion of the game. Evan Taylor came out sluggish. You can say all you want about Stackhouse's rotations, and I think there's certainly some validity to that. I didn't get subbing Graham Calton in with 11 minutes in the second half for his first action for Colin Smith. But, man, he's got to get more from his guys. And that's not a Tyron Lawrence thing. That's a thing that, I mean, Paul Lewis has to take better shots. Colin Smith has to be more productive. Evan Taylor's got to hit his open looks, especially early in the games. Just a really tough night for Vanderbilt, and one that brings up a lot of questions about its future. How can you turn this thing? Does this turn into a losing streak? I think those are my big questions. And, man, Billy, I don't have great answers for him right now. And it's opening night. This was supposed to be a night with some anticipation, some excitement, some celebration. Basketball's back. We're back at Memorial Gymnasium. Instead, it's a deflating night with a deflated Vanderbilt team walking off the floor.
Yeah, this was a punch in the gut, punch in the face, right? I know Stackhouse denied that and basically just said it was a loss, but anyone with a brain can say that this was a brutal loss. That, losses like this, I feel like a lot of times haunt teams throughout the season, right? And last year, you talk about Grambling and Southern Miss. Vanderbilt was sitting as a bubble team. If they had beaten both those teams, they're probably in the tournament, Joey. And I'm interested to see, does that happen again this season? Because I do believe, I think Vanderbilt's going to get back on track. They're going to find ways to be successful. And it's a natural progression, right? I mean, now, how much more different than tonight does this season get? I don't know. I mean, we have a whole season to play. You got UNC Greensboro coming in here. A really good team, a lot better team than this one tonight. So you're not going to play any worse teams statistically with the net, right? Presbyterian probably got a big jump. Vanderbilt got a big decrease. But Joey, I want to throw this out here. Vanderbilt shot the ball miserably tonight, 32% from the field. Vanderbilt, their team field goal percentage, ranking in the NCAA under Stackhouse by year, and credit to Steve Byram on Twitter on this, they were 19 and 20 season, year 1, 42%, 227 in the NCAA. Year 2, 43%, 231st in the NCAA. 42% in year 3, 270th in the country. And then 42% last year, 294th in the country. That's a trend that is ugly, right? And hasn't gotten better, right? And, maybe marginally, but that's not going to cut it against anybody. You talk about things in football that aren't going to cut it, turnover margin, things like that. When you shoot that poorly, you're going to lose games like this. I mean, and that's a common trend with this team. It feels like they haven't gotten better shooting-wise. Now, against SEC teams, maybe that changes this year. I don't know if this is a program that naturally plays up to their competition and down to teams that they should beat and dominate. I don't know what it is, Joey, but there's something instinctually innate, like ingrained in this program that they just, early in seasons, they're in flux. And I think that's the reason why is because there's been so much movement in every offseason, right? So it has taken that period of 2-3 weeks, maybe even months at a time to get your foot under you, your footing under you. So again, every program deals with that, right? Attrition, players coming in and out. That's kind of today's day and age. But I feel like with this program, they struggle early in seasons just building chemistry. And I think that's a big problem, and they got to get it fixed quickly because this thing can continue rolling because you got a really good UNC Greensboro team coming in, and I'm not joking about that. You know that, right? So statistically, Joey, you mentioned it, Magnon, I guess, had a good night, but, I mean, it didn't really look like it, right? I mean, I don't think you can really say anybody had a good night. Evan Taylor didn't shoot the ball well. No one shot the ball well. I don't think the defense was great. I mean, I don't think it was rock bottom, but you're playing Presbyterian, you know. So offense was the problem. Shooting was the problem. They couldn't put the ball in the basket, right? And that's been a trend throughout Stackhouse's tenure. So, like I said, Joey, it's got to get fixed, and if it doesn't, Vanderbilt fans are in for a long season.
We talked a lot this offseason about the shooting and the depth. Billy, those things did not show up tonight. Vanderbilt shot at 24% from three-point range. When it needed its depth the most, couldn't get really anything out of it. Colin Smith, even, I guess, freshmen couldn't step up down the stretch, and those freshmen shouldn't have to play down the stretch of games like this, games that are resume-altering at this point of the season. And you don't want to make a huge deal of it. Jerry Stackhouse says the season doesn't end on opening night, but, man, it's hard to recover from that. That is a punch in the face, like you said. And if you go and beat USC Upstate, I guess fine, but you certainly don't feel as good about it as you would have if you'd squeaked this game out. Vanderbilt has to go on a run here, and it has to have a wake-up call. I don't know if the sense of urgency around this program has been what it needs to be early in non-conference play, and that has to change. Maybe this will change it. That's kind of the source of optimism here, as well as what some of the freshmen did. But, man, Billy, I just don't get it. I don't see why this is so difficult early in the year. Western Carolina, I could have seen them losing too. I think Presbyterian has some good players, but, man, unbelievable, Billy. Unfathomable, unexplainable, unacceptable. We're going with all the uns tonight, and, Billy, I don't know what you do here.
Yeah, and I'll wrap it up like this, Joey. On a hot night here inside Memorial Gym, I mean, we're sweating. We're wiping sweat off our forehead. That seat is getting hotter, right? I mean, it is. So, again, can it change, though? I think it can.
Yeah.
I think that can change. Look at last year. I mean, that changed quickly last year. So, again, long season. I know Vanderbilt fans don't want to hear that right now, but it is. It's a basketball season. It's not a football season, right? We're saying similar things that we were saying in the Hawaii game, but like I said, on a hot night in here, it's getting hotter around this program.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think I've backed a lot of them, and I don't have much reason to continue to do that after this. What I look at in the future is how they turned it last year. It's just so hard to see that this early in the season, and with so little positive signs from tonight. Obviously, you look at Van Allen Lubin and Tyron Lawrence potentially coming back on Friday, and you say, well, maybe they got something here. But it's just so hard when you're buried in Ken Palm, when you're buried in the net this early, to go find reasons for optimism and reasons to think you can make the tournament. The season isn't only SEC play, and I think we learned that tonight, and we'll see that reflected in Vanderbilt's Ken Palm ranking in the morning. I wanted to touch on some of Vanderbilt's freshmen. I don't think they were phenomenal, but I think they did some fine things. Jason Rivera-Torres had some stuff run for him, which I think was a positive sign. I think he showed some good things, although he wasn't super efficient. Isaiah West can really guard, and I think we saw that today. I saw physical finish around the rim. Carter Lang rebounded it well, and I think that's why he stayed on the floor over Comateros. I don't know that I would love playing him over Comateros continually, especially when Comateros is on the floor and they're not getting him great looks. But Carter Lang did some nice things rebounding it. Malik Presley's athleticism flashed. I think they're all a little bit far away, though, and I think we saw that today. I think you're ideally coming in here without Tyron Lawrence and Van Allen Lubin and Lee Dort, who, by the way, is cleared and seems to be getting closer to game shape. Didn't have anything on his foot or his ankle today.
That's the positive.
That's the positive, yeah.
That's the positive, Joey. There aren't many positives to take. But, I mean, I think, you get your three best players back. I think
maybe not your three. I think
arguably.
Yeah. Well,
you get Tyron Lawrence, Lee Dort. Yeah, I was probably wrong in saying that. But you get your best player. And you get two really strong supporting guys back. That's the positive. Again, I know that's really hard to hear right now, but that is sort of the glimmer of hope right now, right? You do have those three guys coming back that will impact this team. Is it going to be enough, though, right? They said they would have liked to have them tonight. We'll see if that comes true.
Yeah, you got to find a way to turn this one way or another. I guess that's what I look to is optimism, like you said. But, man, what an awful night for Vanderbilt on opening night. A night that should have been full of excitement is in a eerie, hot Memorial Gym, a disappointment as Vanderbilt falls 68 to 62 to Presbyterian, one of the lowest ranked mid-majors in the country. A team that looked okay, but man, what a loss for Vanderbilt. Unfathomable, unbelievable, unexpected, and unacceptable. Thank you guys for watching. God bless. Billy and I will be back here on Friday, hopefully with a more upbeat post-game show. Peace.